and welcome to this edition of Fuel Talk. I'm delighted to be joined today by Didier Van Bouwel, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Modix International. So welcome, Didier, and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Welcome.
And the concept of Fuel Talk, as anyone that hasn't watched or listened to this before, is very lucky I get the opportunity to talk to leaders within the Cox Automotive family, catch up about their business, about them, and what they see the future challenges in this unprecedented time. So Didier, the floor is yours. I guess from an introduction perspective, a bit of background to you, perhaps.
Oh, long time ago, I started at Cox Automotive. So this means somewhere end of 2004, I started for a company called Portfolio, which most of you will know as Mannheim Retail Services within the UK, based in the European headquarters in Antwerp. And so step by step, several roles within Cox Automotive, started also within the Mannheim environment afterwards, the online and afterwards a physical auction business within Belgium. So afterwards, back to Modix, role has changed. And at Modix, I started picking up the role as the MD for Benelux and France, the countries where we were operating at that moment, in combination with the international sales part when Modix was growing bigger outside the German initial country where it was founded. Then afterwards, growing again more within the company, being responsible for all our offices throughout Europe and in the world, meaning we have offices in Spain, Italy, Germany, Belgium, of course, where I was based then, France, China, and then taking care of my UK friends in Manchester. And currently I'm COO, responsible for the global sales and operations of our business. And this means we are present in 74 markets with around almost 17,000 dealers using our tools within the Modix environment. And so this means digital marketing for the automotive business. So I don't want to call myself, of course, an industry veteran. I'm not that old yet to
Certainly
call
not.
myself like that. Yeah.
Great, Didier, thank you for that. And I suppose one of the frustrations I have, which is maybe more true of the UK market, is sometimes when I'm talking to customers, they perhaps don't appreciate the number of different ways that Cox Automotive supports the ecosystem, the entire ecosystem. So you've explained yourself there that you've got a fairly big territory there in terms of the markets that you support. So from somebody that maybe hasn't heard of Modix today, as Modix is, what could you just tell us a bit about exactly what Modix are doing to support our customers around the globe?
Okay, in a nutshell, because it's a lot. In a nutshell, we are providing dealer websites, used car locators, new car locators, and so on. So everything to support dealers, dealer groups, and OEMs with their visibility of their stock, their cars, and so on towards the big public, so towards consumers. And this, aside this is the base. And then aside this, we have a lot of other tools around it, meaning tools to attract more people, which we call Modix Adbox as an example, where we collaborate with Google to attract more people to those websites. And this nicely linked these days into, of course, the environment of digital retail, where we want to support the OEMs with tools to start selling online or give more possibilities to consumers to interact with their next car. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting you mentioned that about digital retail, because I think you'd have to be living on the moon at the moment not to have seen the headlines about all the businesses that are having to look at their digital retail strategy. But clearly, from talking to you, Modix was looking at digital retail well before the current tragic pandemic that we're having to work through at the moment. So what have you observed, Didier, in terms of customers' pain points? Is it just a case of accelerating what was already happening strategically from your perspective, or?
I mean, in short, there's a lot of progress being made over the last years. In the beginning, let's say X years ago, a lot of dealers and OEMs looked at it as their, call it, add on to the dealership to be digitally present. Currently, and before the pandemic, it was already the case that it becomes the main showroom. So for new cars and used cars information, and for sure a used car, which is a unique one, you can't configure it basically. So it is important to be present on the internet. Now, with all the changes in the industry, automotive industry, but for sure outside, if you think about the brands like an Amazon, consumers are expecting much more meaning functionalities, which they expect also in the car industry on the digital platforms of those OEMs. So this means reserving a vehicle, buying it online like these days, but also, booking test drives and so on and so on. So the consumer behavior is changing, but aside of this, of course, the OEMs and all the rest of the car industry needs to follow this trend and can't stay behind it. Now, if you look to COVID, basically, I don't want to say that the automotive is digitally seen compared to the Amazons in the world behind, but they are really accelerating this these days. I don't need to explain that if a country is in a lockdown and the dealerships are closed, that everyone still tries to sell vehicles, and that the only way of doing this is, of course, via a digital way. This digital way is then, of course, digital retailing. That's it. So big jump forward. It just accelerates. COVID and lockdowns and all that stuff is just accelerating it massively, because it just becomes even more important than it was already before. Absolutely.
And you mentioned in terms of the 74 countries that Modix is operating within. Is there a difference between different markets, Didier, in terms of how the consumer wants to behave? Or are you finding, because it's the OEMs that you're working with, that they're actually almost taking that digital retail solution into each territory? Does that make sense in terms of the same way? Or are consumers, is there a real demand in different markets? So for example, you mentioned China. Is the digital retail demand different in China than perhaps it is in the UK or Germany or different markets?
Before COVID, it was. Some markets are really ahead of others. If we look to China, everyone knows that in China it's all digital, and you don't have even a menu in a restaurant anymore. You order via your phone and so on and so on. So the expectations of the consumers are for sure not anymore to get a leaflet in a showroom, with the information of the car. But most of the countries are getting up to speed. It is linked to the internet penetration. There are, of course, markets where the internet penetration is still low, which we in Europe don't really, understand anymore. We know that we all are connected via cell phones, the landlines, everything, and the coverage is big. But there are still areas where we find out that the coverage is rather, call it, bad. And this is, of course, an issue for this acceleration or for this way of working. But mainly there are countries, if we talk about Japan as an example, where the expectations are completely different. I give you one good example. In Japan, if you want to do a test drive, you can just go online, book your test drive, and instead of you need to go to the dealership, you can book a test drive on the car, which is basically seen on top of Japan, and they transport it during the night, do the test drive in front of your house, and bring the car back if you don't like it. So this is something we don't know yet in other markets. We start seeing delivery at your house after a digital retail purchase. That is something what we see now. But even on the test drive and all that stuff, you see that these are things which are happening already 3 years or longer in Japan. These are now becoming, for us in Europe and in the UK and so on, it becomes, call it, normal.
Yes.
So some markets are in front, some of them are not. It also depends a little bit onto markets, let's say, markets which suffered harder during the crisis, meaning that the people are hesitating to buy. Basically, see, for everyone, it's a big investment to buy a car. So in countries where there was a bigger hit in the crisis days, these people still want to touch, feel, smell the car before they just 100% online buy that car. But for the rest, I think most of them are in a quite similar shape. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I certainly think looking at different markets and how they have behaved differently, but as you said, now with COVID and the pandemic, now it's almost bringing together a harmonized view for the OEM to provide digital retail. So what, in terms of products and services, then what have you? I mean, obviously, I've seen demonstrations. If no one else has, that's watching or listening to this, in terms of Modix 360, which is a fantastic product that really empowers dealers around imagery. What other products and services are you or in the pipeline in terms of any challenges that you foresee OEMs are coming to us with, any pain points?
So it's not anymore like in the past, I just need to list my car somewhere and I make my cars visible. It's much more than that today, for sure,
Right.
due to the pandemic. But it's not, it's most of the OEMs are now really focusing onto their online presence. And yeah, they are moving in that direction of digital retail. But digital retail gives you a bunch of functionalities. I can trade in my car, I can finance my car, I can deliver my car at home, you know, all those different steps which you take in a digital retail journey. But aside of this, you first need to attract those people to that website where they can find that car. Now, for this, like I told earlier, we have this Modix ad box, if we're calling it, via Google and so on, but the presentation of your car also is changing. So in the past, you had basic pictures, you know, then on top of this, we had this service and still have this service which calls professional pictures, you know, like a decent, better quality picture. Now, over the past years, we developed this in the direction that you can have 360 imagery. So you can literally see as a consumer inside and outside the car, zoom in, have hotspots where you can see this is the dashboard, this is navigation system, you know, you can have more details around this, and even request personalized video. So this video is a direct contact between the salesperson and that consumer. For example, how big is the trunk? Can I have some details around the trunk? Sales guy can go there, have a direct video conversation, or even record the video around the trunk, explain how big it is, and so on, the measurements and these kind of things, and send this straight to the consumer. So the presentation is important, but on top of that, it's even more important that you can, I don't want to call it tailor-made, but specifically answer to the request of a certain consumer. This consumer can have, for example, 3 babies and need a big trunk, to be honest. You know, for him, it is really important that you can, you know, dig into that specific area of the car and just say like, okay, it's this measurement, this is, you know, this is how big it is. This is exactly what he needs. And this is one step further than just having basic pictures. 360 and video is this personalized video where you can answer directly to this consumer, because at the end for him, it's a major, you know, how do I say it, asset he's buying, and it costs him a lot of money. So he will think twice before he chooses his car. Absolutely.
And what a great customer experience differentiator there for the franchise dealer that can offer that to a customer. Okay, so I appreciate your time. I know that you're very busy, and time flies when we're talking like this. But I guess coming towards a close, I wanted to understand, Didier, from you, if you open the bottom drawer of your desk and got your international crystal ball out for digital retail and Modix, what do you think in the next? Well, you know, let's be honest, this year's almost disappeared now, hasn't it? But in the next 12 months, what do you think your customers are really going to look to Cox Automotive in terms of helping and supporting them? Is it really continuing the great job that we do, or do you think that there will be a shift to digital retail across all the markets?
There will be a shift. It's happening. It's that simple. But the question is how fast, and how fast the industry is ready or prepared for this. So basically what a lot of dealers are scared about, the fact like, hey, digital retail, you know, it will, you know, it will be tricky for me as a dealer, because at the end it's all going online. Now, all of the OEMs, really simply said, are looking to support their dealer networks with these tools. It doesn't need to be a danger for everyone. If you have decent tools in place, it is always the collaboration between the dealer and the OEM. And that is absolutely fine. I mean, think about service. You can never bring service on a vehicle online. So, you know, dealers will be there, and dealers are needed. And some of them will be progressive and step onto it faster. Some of them will be a little bit slower. It's the, how do I say it, the adaptation of the dealerships and the OEMs towards the new world. And that's what we are seeing. And that's what we try to achieve, to deliver them the products which they need, and that it doesn't need to be a danger for them. Nobody needs to be scared of it. We just need to follow the trends in the world. And this trend is a trend already a while ago. This is becoming reality. That's it.
Wow. Well, it's exciting times for you and the team at Modix, no doubt, in all of the different time zones that you operate in. So you must be a very, very, very busy chief operating officer, I'm sure of that. But listen, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. I'm imagining next week you'll be at the Fleet Europe Summit, because I know that's a really big event. I believe we're sponsoring that as Cox Automotive. Yeah, great. So I know that customers will be able to reach out and listen to insight from us as sponsors at that event in the remarketing arena, and also coincidentally, it would be a shame for me not to plug next week's Insight Report, Cox Automotive Insight Report, that launches on the 18th of November, and within that we are looking at digital retail. And I know
where you will see some input from my side too. Correct.
Absolutely, you see. So that's great to get more insight from you and the team, Didier. So it just remains for me to thank you very, very much. Wish you and the team well. Stay safe, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.